What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, and I'm back at y'all with another one. So, I just listened to an interview that the Phenom did, former lineal, unified, IBF, WBA, Ring Magazine, welterweight world champion, now junior middleweight, 154-pound title contender, the Phenom, as I refer to him as, Jaron Boots Ennis, who has 35 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 wins by way of knockout. He clarifies some things, some rumors, some reports. Jaron Boots Ennis, who will be fighting the undefeated, unified Puerto Rican star on the verge of being the superstar, Xander Zayas, June 27th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Jaron Ennis had been reported to turn down an offer to fight first ballot Hall of Famer, undefeated 3-division world champion, former undisputed lightweight, former WBC junior welterweight, and reigning WBO welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Devin the Dream Haney, to Devin Haney before Devin Haney fought Brian Norman Jr. And Jaron Boots Ennis was reported to have been offered the fight with Devin Haney and turned it down and asked for a catchweight of 152. So Jaron Boots Ennis clears the air and says that he was never offered the fight other than at 152, meaning that somebody came to Jaron Boots Ennis and said, hey, we got an offer for you to, an opportunity for you to fight Devin Haney at 152. Would you take it? And he said, yeah. And then he said, I heard nothing back after that. So he said, so how did I duck him when I heard nothing back after that? Then, he later on talked about how it was difficult for him to make 147 pounds. He knew he outgrew the division, especially with the IBF title and the 10-pound next day rehydration clause. So Jaron Ennis is saying that he wasn't even aware of any offer other than 152. So it was brought to him as a catchweight at 152, and he never heard nothing back. So he said he wasn't going back down to 147 anyway, but, he accepted the fight at 152. And I'm going to say this. This is typical of the business of the sport of boxing, and it's typical of Jaron Boots Ennis. Jaron Boots Ennis is a very laid-back personality, right? You can tell in the interviews he's not interested in the sport of boxing other than himself. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying he's being selfish. I'm just saying that he's only interested in himself in the sport of boxing and or fighters he's particularly entertained by. Other than that, he's not interested. You watch the interviews, you can clearly, I told you guys before, he's not a big boxing fan. And he said this on numerous occasions of this generation. He watched the old generation of fighters, but not this generation. You know what I'm saying? He watched his brothers, Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones, etc., right? But he's not interested in this because they're his peers. And I can understand where he's coming from. When it comes to the business of the sport of boxing, Jaron Ennis has the mentality of, I pay for a team, I have a team, I let them do their job. Why do I need to investigate? That's his mind. That's his mindset, right? I have a team. I pay my team. They got to do their job, and he trusts them to do their job, right? It's the same situation I told y'all with the Terrence Crawford situation, right? Jaron Ennis is not going to prowl and dig and poke and be like, hey, man, did you... He's not going to do that. That's not his personality, right? So when the whole Devin Haney situation came about, I can see them going back to father trainer manager, CEO of DHP, Devin Haney Promotions, Bill Haney, and telling Bill Haney, well, he wants to fight at 152. And Bill like, well, we ain't even fight at 147 yet. Why would we go to 152? That, again, like I said before, and I'm going to say this again, it allows room for Jaron Ennis to be labeled a duck. I'm going to say it again. It allows room. This is what I said before when the Steven Espinosa situation happened with Terrence Crawford. If he don't do his due diligence and just allows his team, there's a such thing. And I'm going to say this to Boots Ennis. There's a such thing. I watch Warren Buffett. I watch Bill Gates. They always say, you got to hire a accountant to watch your accountant. You got to hire an accountant to monitor and watch your accountant, right? Meaning that you got to double back. You got to double down. You can't trust nobody. You can't just take them as your word because that's your team, that's your manager, that's your promoter, that's your accountant, that's your financial advisor. You got to be able to, you got to do your due diligence, or you leave room for what? For people to say, you ducking. So like he said in the interview, I ain't never heard nothing else back. So of course people could say, Devin Haney offered you to fight because Bill and Devin is from the standpoint, we offered you to fight. Then you came back, you said 152. He's saying, I ain't say 152. They brought it to me as 152 already. You understand? And I completely understand where he's coming from, what he's getting at. 1,000%. But that's why I keep saying, with the Terrence Crawford situation, he got mad at me for revealing the truth about Steven Espinosa not being interested in making a fight. That's your team. You can't say Terrence Crawford didn't want to fight and just go off of what Steven Espinosa said, because as Steven Espinosa said, he had no interest in stepping on the toes of Errol Spence and Al Haymon. Well, there you have it. You was his priority, and he was concerned with them. He says in the interview, he never had one conversation with Al Haymon in his career. In his career, he's never had, when people thought he was signed to PBC, he made it clear, I never had one conversation with Al Haymon. But yet Steven Espinosa made it clear his priority was what? Al Haymon and Errol Spence. Another example. But let me know what y'all think, man. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. I'm gone. Peace.